Hey, what's up, you derps? Before we get started with the show, I want to give a special shout outs to Gregorio's, located in Salinas, California. That is 201 South Main Street to be exact. Really good service. I went there last week. I really enjoyed myself. There's even a patio section with these fire pits, and it was really classy. I really enjoyed my time there, and I just wanted to give him a special shout out. In this episode, we got the homie Matt D. I got him on Skype, so some of the audio is a little jumbled up there, but you can still get the gist of our conversation. And let's just get started with the show. And welcome back to the Durp Show Podcast. I am your host, Big Ern. This is episode number 17, and today's guest, we have a very good friend of mine, a college friend, but I still like to talk to this guy. He doesn't want me to use his last name. I'm going to call him Matt D. Yo, Matt D, so what's up?
What's up?
All right, let's get into it. First topic of the show. Let's just talk about college, man. Let's just talk about our college days. You know, freshman year. Let's just reminisce, because I met you the very first week, maybe second week that we started living in the dorms. And really, to be completely honest, you were probably my first friend there, dude. Before I was even cool with my roommates. Shout outs to Fred and Zach. You were probably the first friend I made.
Wow, that's such an honor for me to be called your first friend, considering that you were so liked by many.
Is that right? Do you think so?
Oh yeah, dude. You were just that guy, man. It was kind of weird the first couple weeks in college, because then you're meeting so many people, and then by the second week, you already forget everybody's name. And so you mainly speak to the people in your hall. So naturally, I ventured, because pretty much we lived in a J, and I was at the top of the J, and then pretty much a couple weeks later I ended up down the other end of the J, and everything was kind of splintered off too, just between that front side, and then there was 4 or so rooms there, and they were all girls except for me and Eric. And then there was the back side. I want to say there were more girls than boys in our hall. Because a lot of the guys, the Asian guys who lived in the middle, they didn't really talk to anybody.
All right, so what were your thoughts the very first day? Because here's my thoughts on it. I get there, and then I meet our RA, John, right? Dude looks like he's 30. Like he just had that rugged kind of look on his chin. He's a
the middle people, they're very hairy, they're very defined features.
Yeah.
And for him, it just... everything. He kind of reminded me of Aladdin kind of thing.
Exactly.
If Aladdin had a beard, he'll probably be 50. But
what I was gonna say is, so I met John. I'm with my parents. My dad gives him a handshake. He's like, "Oh, so where are you from?" I'm like, "Soledad." Of course, he didn't know where it was. But then I was like, "Oh, it's by Monterey." He's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "I go biking out in Monterey. I was there for the Big Sur Marathon or something." And then my dad was like, "All right, cool, chill." He's like, Let me walk you to your room," because I was one of the last ones to get there, right? Getting there midday. Everybody's already there in the morning, all set up. I get the last fucking bed in my room. So I'm walking and I'm seeing all the rooms, and I'm like, holy shit, we're continuing walking. It's a long ass hallway. When are we going to get there? And lo and behold, I got the last room on the left. And
yours was actually a better spot. You had the top bunk, Zach had the bottom bunk, and Fred had that standalone bed.
Yeah.
On the right side of the floor. So you were actually in a good spot, because Zach was hardly ever in his room. Wink, wink. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Good. You had the top bunk. At least you didn't have the bottom bunk. Not that it really mattered or anything.
Yeah. He ended up using that as a couch, as everybody come in, sit in my bed. So I guess that was pretty good. Yeah, I guess it was pretty good, because mine's at the top. Nobody's sitting up there.
exactly. I wanted to just, give you pink eye so badly with that 49er blanket of yours that you always put over your bed and like throw.
Oh man.
Hated that. Anyways, yeah, you guys had it kind of bad because you guys had that triple, but remember that window? Like, we used to hop out of that window sometimes. God, that was
to go in and out, yeah, to the patio. That was so ridiculous.
So stupid. I remember like just doing so many stupid things as a freshman that I would never do now. That was like 8 years ago. Can you believe that? That was like fall 2007, and now we're in spring 2015.
Yikes. Oh, don't remind me. It was some really good times, man. I really do. Like, I enjoyed it. I will forever remember, like, my exact feelings. Like I said, like, I had to walk all the way in the end, and I was surprised. I was like, damn. Because I knew I was going to be in a triple, but, like, I was like, damn, all the way here? Like, it's going to be, like such a walk. I was like, damn, I already hate it. Like, it's already at the very end, like... But then I guess it was good, yeah, because I get to walk past everybody.
What's worse for me, I was like the third room pretty much when you enter.
Yeah.
And the worst part was you hear everybody coming in, because everybody has to get
past your room, yeah.
So you'd hear everybody drunk, stumbling, especially like they're right outside your door, and our room was pretty close to the bathrooms, and you're just like, oh god, like you hear toilet flushes, people puking, people taking dumps, peeing, the whole business. So you knew the habits of every person in the bathroom, and it's really funny though when the girls would come out, like going into the bathroom, I wouldn't recognize them at all because they'd have a towel and in their hair, and they wouldn't have their makeup, like they just woke up and like, oh hey, I remember this happened with one girl who lived right next to me. I didn't know who she was because she'd always put on tons of makeup, and then when she didn't have it, I was so confused about who she was. And so
who was it?
When, like, oh, you ignored me, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even recognize you. But it's because
who was it?
All that Alex, the white or the blonde one, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember. Yeah, I remember that too. One time I did like run into her without makeup. I was like, oh shit, you look completely different.
Yeah, exactly. And then they come out of the bathroom, they're doing all fine, and then like they're like, oh hey, what's up, hey. Yeah, she was. Yeah, a lot of the girls in her hall were really not that social, I would say. I mean, well, there were a couple exclusives, obviously, for every group, but my first impressions, I was very optimistic of everybody as a person back then. Mm-hmm. But now, more of a pessimist with people, like, when you see how people turn and change over 4 years, you kind of wonder every time you meet somebody if that's going to be the same kind of thing. So Word. I think now at our age, we're not really looking to make friends. We're more looking to maintain the friends that we have. It's different though. Living with people, you hate them more. And towards the end of the year, I don't know if you felt that same thing, but you kind of dislike some people.
No, I still have mad love and respect for both my roommates. Shout outs to Fred and shout outs to Zach.
Obviously not the people that you interacted with, but they're your friends, but some people will do things that just really annoy you, and I don't know, it got under my skin because I was, at the time, it was a difficult time for me, and just transitioning from really conservative upbringing to a very liberal kind of culture that Riverside had. And that's what I think that what you pay for at schools is mainly the fact that you can network with other people. Like, I mean, geez, the amount of lawyers that I know now is ridiculous. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because I tell all my friends, I go, hey man, I have a lawyer buddy, and I'm referring to Fred. I go, that's my lawyer. Yeah. I go, right? if I'm ever taken to jail, I want my lawyer, and his name is Fred. Get that guy on the phone.
It's really hard to not win an argument against Fred. Like, you'll end up not necessarily losing, but he'll introduce some new points into your head, and he'll explain his arguments very eloquently.
Oh, Fred loves to talk.
That's one of the things that Fred's really good at, is giving his point, and he's not going to say, oh no, you're wrong. He's more going to say, this is why I'm right.
high school did not prepare me for college. It just did not. My freshman year was my worst year academically there. I got like a 2.3 GPA overall. And that's because I was getting C's because I didn't know how to study. I didn't know how to, pay attention in class and look out for the things that were going to be on the test. I had to learn that from scratch freshman year. And I didn't want to give up, but I was close. I was thinking about it. I was like, damn, like 1 year here and all I got was like a 2.0. Like I ain't shit, because I was getting closer to a 4.0 in high school, and just because high school's, a breeze. But being in Riverside, I had to learn everything from scratch. The dumbest thing I've ever tried to do was actually try to finish the books, like when I had time. Like, okay, it's 7 o'clock, I ate my dinner already, let me go to the break room on the second floor and let me just study for a little bit and read this book, and let me take my iPod and just like listen to some music or something while I do it. But then everybody would walk in and I'd get all distracted, and then I'd get on my phone or something and play Sonic, and then my grades came back and they were like all C's, they were all mediocre. And I was just like, shit, like, how do I do it? And it wasn't until, I would say, sophomore year that I really said, you know what? You don't have to read the whole book. That's how I got through college. I didn't read the whole book, but when they said this was going to be on the test, I made sure I read those chapters.
Yeah, I think reading the book, it's just so easy for a professor to say, like, oh, hey, just read the book. Like, all the answers are in the book. I mean, that's like kind of saying, well, all the fish are in the ocean. And it's just like, well, that's too easy to say, it's a little too easy for them in a way, and I felt like a lot of professors didn't really try as hard as they should have. Occasionally, some, professors will say, oh, this will be on the midterm, or this will be on the final. And remember in high school, they'd always go over it, like, they'd always, I'll say after class, I'll help you with this, I'll do that, that was high school, right? And college is just like, well, get the notes from one of your friends, or ask one of my TAs, kind of thing. And a professor's like, dude, this is your job. Like, I realize that you obviously, you write books, you probably have a blog, I don't know. But this is like, yeah, you're a lecturer, but shoot, like, we're the future, like, we're going to be paying your social security, buddy, so help us out, it's a job to them. That's, I guess, public education for you.
Yeah. Who was your worst professor that you've ever had?
Oh, it would probably have to be an econ professor then.
Oh, econ was the worst.
I want to say econ was the worst because there's a lot of foreign professors in econ. They're really hard to understand, and especially if it's like an intro course, a lot of them teach advanced courses. So a lot of them are just so bored, they hate, like, they think that you already know what it is, but it's an intro class. And so since they're foreign, it makes it even worse because you can't understand what they're saying. Like they'll say, oh, GDP, and then they'll go into, dude, I can't even remember econ. This is horrible. But, if they'll say, we had one professor who'd go, if I have 5 pounds of chocolate and 3 pounds of steel, and you're just kind of like, okay, is it still or steel? And it shows up on the text, and you're like, oh, that's what he was talking about? But then, it's like, how do I apply that theory now? Because I didn't understand what it was. And they expect you to have a really good understanding of calculus, because you use quite a bit of calculus, and in econ, you're just like, oh crap. Or, I'm not particularly good at math. I'm more of like a writing dude. Mm-hmm. I want to say all my professors were from out of the country and extremely hard to understand, even with a tape recorder. I started bringing tape recorder, I think, after my second year. I had one TA who spoke English, who was born in the country, and then everybody else.
That was the problem too, is that some of the TAs were also foreign with like thick Indian accents, and I was like, damn.
A lot of the business ones were from China, and they were studying global studies. I had a lot of Chinese, a lot of Indians. It's not to say that their English was bad, it's just that it was incomprehensible when they were talking. Oh, let me ask you, what was your favorite, like, let's say not professor, but let's say course taken?
I took some really good courses. I mean, like, I like the intro to philosophy a lot. That was chill. I took a lot of upper division classes that I really loved. One was transmedia. There was a comic book class. There was the one that I took senior year. That was really dope. There's a bunch of like my creative writing classes. Do you know who Riza Aslan is?
Of course, yeah, the head of creative writing, yeah.
Yeah. He was one of the better professors.
But I knew who he was,
yeah. Yeah. Kind of a douche, but he was one of the better professors on campus.
From what I've seen in his interviews and from what I've... A little bit on the pompous end, I'm not really sure.
He is.
Undoubtedly brilliant, really famous, hugely intellectual, but maybe that exudes a level of pompousness. I'm not quite sure, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. But, every time I see him on television, I like to point out, I took a class with that guy. He's a pretty smart guy. He is kind of a douche, though.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess that's what can be expected when someone's, that brilliant and that gifted. It's kind of looking down. But my favorite class by far is the Intro to Entomology. Holy moly, dude, that class is amazing. The things that you learn about bugs, like I want to say I didn't kill a bug for a whole year, until after taking that class. I mean, the importance of insects, bugs is just ridiculous. It's billions and billions of dollars devoted to protect insects and then also to destroy insects because they're so much of an economic asset, sometimes a liability. So anyways, moving on.
No, that was a cool class, dude. I remember taking that class. It was like probably spring of our freshman year, and I took it
because you took it, and I think you told me, yeah, it's a cool class, take it. So I went by your advice, and I don't regret it. I think we had the same guy. It was a bearded guy.
Yeah.
He always made jokes about beer and his ex-wife, so that was really funny. Like, I think I went to every one of those lectures. I never skipped a lecture from that guy. He was very entertaining, a really good presenter.
Yeah. So I had two roommates, right? So that quarter, we all had, like, a morning class. So I remember waking up, and then we were like, oh, you get to go to class, like, at 8 p.m.? And Zach was getting ready. He's like, oh, yeah, I am. I was like, cool. And then what about you, Fred? And he was getting ready too. He's like, yeah. We were like, all right, cool. We're gonna walk Tuesdays and Thursdays together. And we only did it for 1 week. We did it 1 week. That very first week, we all went to class. Then, of course, you know how Zach was. He's like, I'm gonna sleep in tonight. Or Fred's like, I gotta go early, or I gotta get up and go to the library early. And I would be the only one walking to class, like, on time. I was like, well, this sucks.
Yeah. I remember a lot of the girls didn't want to walk from our hall. They didn't want to walk alone. And for that chick Erin, who, we ended up having a bit of a history, but I remember I'd walk with her to UNLH to History 20, History of the 20th Century.
Yeah, so let me continue with, like, my first impression, because you actually don't know this, but Fred... Did you know Fred called me before I even met him?
I did not.
Did you ever hear that story?
What was that?
My mom's like, hey, you have a friend on the phone, like in the house phone. I was like, really? Like, they didn't call my cell phone? So I go over and I pick up, and here's Fred, perfect English, like, hey man, how's it going? I'm like, oh, good. He's like, hey, you don't know me, but my name is Fred, and I'm going to be your roommate. And, I'm looking over. I was like, oh, okay, what's up? He's like, yeah, I'm looking over the paper here. It says, like maybe one of us should bring a trash can. And that's what we ended up talking the very first day.
That's exactly how I picture Fred doing that conversation. Really structured, really organized, very formal. And then once he gets to know you, like, it's like, all knee slappers here and there. It's really funny. That's hilarious.
And that's the very first, like, impression I had of Fred, and I thought he was white, because I was like, Fred, and he talks like that? Alright, this guy must be white. So I walk into my room, right? I'm seeing everybody, blah, blah, blah. I don't know anybody. I walk in, expecting to see Fred. Guess who I see behind the computer? Zach. With a big old grin on his face, too. Super nice guy. He comes up, super chill. He's like, hey, man. He's like, I'm Zach, or Zachariah, but you can call me Zach. And then I was like, oh, hey, these are my parents, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, well, I'm gonna bounce. And then, like, we were alone in our room, and I was like, I wonder where that guy's at. And then that's when I noticed I had to take the top bunk.
Well, I mean, top bunk's obviously better. You don't feel the movement as much.
I like to go to sleep like early, like between 10 and 11. And these guys did not go to sleep, especially like Zach. Like, these guys were night owls, man. These guys love to stay up till like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, you know, like, I'm trying to go to sleep, but at the same time, like, I didn't want to be like a little bitch about it. So I wasn't going to complain. I wasn't going to be like, hey man, can you turn it down? You know, even though I could have.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to play fair, you know. I wanted to be a team player. So we all get there. I'm talking maybe like the very first night, we decided to set ground rules that night, you know. Fred ended up bringing the trash can. And then Zach. Right?
So, actually, going back to that, the being night owls and everything, you remember how John used to yell at us because we were being loud and, you know, we were... You remember that? Like,
John with the RA.
John the RA. You were asleep most of the time. I remember one time we were drinking in the hallway, and John goes, oh, he comes out of his room because it's right next to, you know, where we were. He's like, I smell alcohol. Like, all right, who's drinking? And then we pointed him down to like one of the rooms where like we know they're not drinking and they're probably asleep. We're like, yeah, I think it's Corey, right? We're like,
Corey,
oh,
white boy, yeah.
And he's like, God damn it, Corey! Like, you know, he got all mad and he knocked on the door. Corey got and he's like, dude, he probably jumped out the window again. I remember that. That's funny. But hey, honestly, my senior year, I became John. I became really annoyed with people making loud noises at night. 'Cause, you know, you have to get things done when you're taking upper divs. And so I became that guy, that mean old guy who's like, be quiet, like keep it down. And then, you know, I think the kids in my hall hated me for doing that. Like, they did not like me telling them to shut up and ruining their freshman experience. All
right. Before we go way too far into it, let me just like tell the listeners, maybe they're a little confused. So there was a few of us that were like super chill with each other, right? I would say me, you, Zach, Fred, Martin, Young Ho was part of that crew, Suman, Will, Dustin.
D-Train, right?
D-Train. Who else was like super chill with us that we were like, we'd hang out like all the time?
You said you literally named all the guys only. We're the ones dicks too.
There was yeah, you're right. Sherlyn, right across, Lisa, right? Yeah, Lisa. What was the other one's name? There was Maribel for sure. Was she right across from you?
No, Alyssa was right across from me.
Alyssa and her roommate Jessica, right?
Tiffany Wong.
Oh yeah, Tiffany. How did I forget that?
You forgot about her. That's funny. And who else do we have? Everybody thought Erin, that chick, the blonde chick, was racist.
Because she was super quiet.
She was super quiet, and whenever Will and Susan would say hi, she would ignore them, but it's just that she was so quiet.
I think they might have spread that rumor. I think it was them in particular.
She came up to me because we started hanging out, and she goes like, why does everybody think I'm racist? She's like, I love Asian people. That was a really good time. And she thought Martin was really cute. She had like a thing for Hispanics, and I was like, you know, she thought Martin was like cute. And at the time, he was with his girlfriend, and
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that's why I was bringing that up, because I wanted to say that Martin did the best impression about John that he would always do over and over. He would be like, hey guys, can you keep it down? Like, I got some papers to do. Or he would like say it like in such a monotone way that it sounded exactly like John, like him being really tired.
He's always on the verge, whenever he's doing impressions, he's always on the verge of breaking out like and laughing. So it's so funny just to hear him do the, guys, keep it down please. I'm trying to write a paper. It's due at 10 o'clock. And I have not had any sleep for like 26 hours. Please, I beg you. If you guys want, I will throw a party after this, I swear. Yeah, I mean, we definitely did not obey those quiet hours. And yeah, well,
dude, I you know what I loved? I love going to, what's it called? The Bear Store? And just going and just getting like midnight munchies, dude. Everybody would hit me up because I was like for sure down to go.
like bonding time with everybody because we go as a group and you kind of like waddle your way through, go through the other buildings and you see other people.
Yeah.
And and be like, oh, you going to the shoe store? Can you get me this? I remember to always get candy for Alyssa, the girl across.
Yeah.
You should always ask, can you get me something? Because I don't know, she had like the worst meal plan because she thought she wasn't gonna eat, but I'd always get her like this candy called Mamba. It was like this little kind of thing, but it was always a lot of fun just to go down there. And what would we get? Always ice cream and like we always like
random stuff, dude. And I gotta give you like some big old shout outs because you were super generous. I think like I want to say like fall and winter quarter, you bought me so much shit, dude. And you were so generous with it. You're like, nah, E, just put it on there, man. I was like, you sure this is a Starbucks cup, bro? It's like a double mocha. It's gonna cost a bit more. You're like, nah, put that there. Hey, give me an ice cream too while you're at it. I was like, all right.
Honestly, like, now I probably wouldn't do that. I'm just so frugal with money, but like. But when I did those things, I didn't even realize what I was doing. I just felt like, oh, it's just like fake money. But honestly, to this day, I'm probably still paying for that double shot of Starbucks espresso, all that stuff, all that meal plan money, it adds up,
Yeah, let me explain it for the listeners. So there was like 3 meal plans, right? One was your very basic, like out of the whole week, you can swipe your card, your ID card for like 5 times, and that was it. Then there was another one with like 10. And then I think the third one was this Bear Bucks, which was like almost unlimited. It was just like a bunch of money. You thought they were like, it was unlimited, so you just like kept on swiping it. And then was it by like spring quarter, you had like completely ran out, and you're like, E, can I use your card? By that time, I started working at the cafeteria. And I was like, yeah, man, you can use the card when I'm working because I get lunch there for free anyways.
Yeah, well, what ended up happening was they break it up into little installments for you. Mm-hmm. So, each quarter you have like, let's say $1,500 to spend. And each meal, I think dinner was like, $11 or something. Lunch is like, $8 and breakfast was like $5 or whatever. So I didn't realize that. And some people would end up running out of meals. Like, let's say some people didn't expect to stay the weekend. On the weekends, they wouldn't have food, so I just, 6 people would say, hey, can you buy me breakfast? I'm like, yeah, fine, let's go. And that'd be like $35, and like, oh, hey, like, you're done, like, hey, that was easy. And so that's when I started running out, and I think towards the end of the year, I started saying no. I'm like, no, I can't. And so I had so much extra money, which I then used to buy our Korean friends a bunch of cigarettes. Because at the time, you could purchase cigarettes with your dining dollars. Now they don't even sell tobacco on campus anymore. And they don't even have that meal option anymore because it was I think they lost so much money.
Yeah, I had the 10 meal plan. So this is what I did. I would skip breakfast because these guys wouldn't go to sleep. So by the time I woke up, it'd be lunch either way. So that was my breakfast. And then I had dinner. Yeah, so I would skip like one meal during the week, and then I would do brunch on Saturday because I love brunch.
Yeah,
it was a struggle, man.
One of the best times was those brunches because everybody would be hungover or they'd be super duper tired, from the night before, and you just see like the worst in people. Just people wearing the same clothes, and just horrible makeup for the girls, and the guys just like with the huge bed head. That was actually a lot of fun, and I got to experience that quite a bit, living in the dorms still. That we always used to make fun of, upperclassmen, make fun of the lower classmen. Some of them, when it was popular, people would draw on each other and stuff. So some people came in with marks in random places. That was a lot of fun.
I remember, I think Suman would always go back, but Will was always down to get brunch. So he'd always wake me up. And he was an early guy, too. He'd wake me up like, hey, E, let's go get brunch. I'm like, right now, bro? Like, I just woke up.
I remember for a couple, until my junior year, Will would hit me up and ask to go to brunch. Of course, I'd have to pay for him. Because, I was, RA, I was still there. He's like, hey, you want to go to brunch? And I'm like, oh, okay. He's supposed to pay, and he's like, hey, Matt, you got me on this, right? And I said, I guess I have to now, right? I'm not gonna let you Will was a lot of good company, a lot of fun.
Will was dope. I mean, Suman too, man. They're pretty funny guys. I'll always forget them. And they're the ones that introduced me to Korean barbecue, man. Fucking love Korean barbecue.
Of course. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to go out with them. I think we went to sushi. I don't know if you went with us that one time, but I think it was like me, Martin, Fred, and I think Suman, and we went to all you can eat sushi, and then just pretty much being fatties there.
Yeah, I don't like sushi.
It's not for everyone, definitely.
Yeah, it's either you love it or you're just it's not for you.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, some people just can't handle the raw fish.
I tried it right there at the Commons. What's the sushi place right there? The student one. The one they had across the pizza spot.
I remember it was such a bad pun. Honor roll.
Honor roll. That's what it was called. You're right. I tried their California roll or whatever. Dude, I did not make it back to the dorms. I had to take a shit in campus because that's how quickly it went through me.
Speaking of which, the best bathrooms on maybe any college campus are gonna be in like the interdepartmental buildings, like in there. I was always going into humanities because they had like single stall bathrooms and you could actually lock the door. Humanities had a good one. Psych was a new building, so that was a good one. I mean, all these like kind of little buildings that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Best bathrooms. Don't go to the library. Don't go to the commons. But,
Can I say something? Being in Southern California, you SoCal people, like you're pretty conceited. You guys always think we're hating on you. Like NorCal has something against SoCal.
I swear.
No, we don't. That's the thing. We don't. That's the problem. That's the misconception.
Try to piss us off with the word hella, and just because it gets on our nerves. Like it's so bad. I'll let you guys say it. Just, man, that was hella cool, or dude, this dude's hella drunk, and he's like, oh god.
Jesus.
He's very boisterous with what you'd say and how you'd say, how you dress.
I'll tell you this right now, Matt. Southern California is overrated. There, I said it.
Whoa.
I said it. It's just a little overrated. You guys think like it's all happening in Southern California, all right?
The beauty of California.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's end it right there with the beach fire. Because, yeah, dude, that was the first time I've ever gone to, like, a bonfire, was with you guys as a hall. I would always remember that, dude. I always remember that trip. It was so chill, just us bunch, just like, hey, let's go. Because, like, our RA tried to plan it, like, eventually, right? Like, John was like, hey, let's plan something. Like, well, we all do something together as a hall. And, like, everybody flaked at the last minute, so it never really happened. But the bonfire thing was just like among us. We're like, hey, let's all just go. And I was like, all right, I'm down. And I would always remember that, dude. That was such a fun time.
And I think we did it again at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I think the bonfires are a really good way of just bringing out the good in people. Just because you're at the beach, so there's one thing. And then afterwards, the sun goes down. Then you're just pretty much huddled up next to each other trying to stay warm. And, we're making s'mores, and we're making hot dogs, we're making burgers, eating chips, doing all that crazy stuff, playing games. That was actually a really good time. Like, that's, like, probably the first time that I actually had fun in college without drinking, because obviously they're really strict over there. But, it was a lot of fun without any of the drinking, and, just everyone's kind of being themselves, especially since a lot of us were from SoCal and we know what, how fun bonfires and beaches are. It's part of our thing, So, yeah.
Dude, you're a nice guy, man. You're a nice guy to hang around with. Everybody did like you a lot too, man.
Wow, yeah. I was the class president in 8th grade, so. Yeah.
All right, man, we're done here. Do you want to give any shout outs, any last conclusion thoughts? I have enough here for the podcast.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty good on the shouts. I mean, your friends are my friends for the most part. But shout out to the Dodgers and the Lakers, Seahawks.
Ooh, I might cut that out.
Yeah, Seahawks, we're going to bounce back. And Lakers, well, let's just not end up in last place. So all my LA teams and my Northwestern team, hopefully an LA team comes. I don't think I'll root for them, but if the day does come, maybe I'll go to a game or two. So we'll see.
Yikes. All right, well,
thank you for having me on, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at EasyB14. And make sure you check out the website, ezb14.com. I am your host, Big Ern. We out. Say lates, Matt.
Later.
Woo! Block up, fella, bad boy, collabo, 2 MCs with Mad Dojo.
It's never been a nigga that's good for this long, this hood, or this pop, this hot, or this strong, with so many different flows. This one's for this song, the next one I switch up, this one will get bit up.
Fuck that, I preach it, my 9 reaches, the prestigious, can't to speak this, Willie shit, flooded pieces, my hand releases, snatches, smack your cabbage, half-ass rappers shouldn't have it.
These fucks, too lazy to make up shit, they crazy, they don't paint pictures, they just trace me.
You niggas got some audacity, you sold $1 million, now you have for me, get off my dick.
I'm not a biter, I'm a writer for myself and others. I say a big verse, I'm only bigging up my brother, bigging up my barrel. I'm big enough to do it, I'm that barrel. Plus I know my own flow is foolish. The rings and things you sing about, bring them out. It's hard to yell when the barrel's in your mouth.
It's more than I expected, I thought your Jews was running, but they wasn't, so run it. Cousin, I can chill, the heat doesn't. Ran up in your shell about a dozen. You never see bank like Frank White, your hand clutching, your chest plate contemplate, you about to die.